Guys, today I am going to teach you about the quadratic formula. As you know the Siddhacharya formula, this formula is named as Siddhacharya formula. So what is this? This is something written like this: minus of b plus minus b square minus of 4ac is equal to 2 of a. You know this formula? And if you don't know, so you are going to know in the detail. I am going to teach you how this formula and how we have to use this formula and why we have to use actually, because using this formula you have not to think like a middle term. Let's suppose I have given you a question, x square minus of 3x plus of 4. So you have to think, you have not to think the two term or the middle term, or you have to split the middle term. Now you can usually use the formula and get to your answer, and this is why this formula becomes very important and many questions is directly asked from this. So this is why I am going to tell you in detail. So the formula we have, which is the minus of b plus minus d by 2a. So what is the meaning of d, which is called the discriminant, and now how you have to use the discriminant. So for this you have to understand using a quadratic equation. So this is a formula we have. Before this we have to understand the general form of quadratic equation. So the general form we have the ax square plus of bx plus of c is equal to 0. So this is the general form of an quadratic equation. So what do you mean by general form? General form, that understand the meaning name as general form. So general form means all the quadratic equation will look like this. So let's suppose we have a quadratic equation ax square plus of 5 of x plus of 6 equals to 0. So now if you able to see that it is looking like this: ax square, we have ax square, and x we have, then again we have the x, and c we have which is the 6, and b we have which is the 5, and a we have which is the 1, nothing having coefficient, then we call it is the 1. So as you are able to see that it is the general form, so you have to understand how to compare the general form to, let's suppose we have a quadratic equation 5x square minus of 6x plus of 7 equals to 0, and if I will ask you to compare on the basis of its general form, so as we know that the general form of a quadratic equation is like this: ax square plus of bx plus c equals to 0. So if I will ask you what is the a of this quadratic equation, so a, which is going to equal to the 5. A means the coefficient of x square, and the b means the coefficient of x. So the coefficient of x we have the 6. If you are thinking the 6, then it is wrong. It is a minus 6. You have to go along with the symbol. So it is the minus of 6, and the c we have, c means the constant term, which we have the 7. So this is the general form through which we get the value of a, b and c. And if you get to understood how to understand the value of a, b, c, then I am going to teach you how to find the discriminant. So as we know that in this formula we have the b minus b, and as we know that this is the b, and we have the a, which we also know a we have which is the 5, and we have the d. So what is the meaning of d and how we calculate the d, because we haven't the d anywhere in this. So the d means the discriminant, and which is equal to b square minus of 4ac, and this is called the discriminant, and through which we will define how the roots or the zeros of this quadratic equation is going to happen or going to have. So the d we will calculate, which is the b square minus 4ac, and if I will ask you, as we have that a is equal to 5 and b is equal to minus 6 and c equals to 7, and if I will ask you to calculate the d, how will you calculate? So as we know that the d is equal to b square minus of 4ac, and we have that the b equals to the minus of 6. So squaring minus of 6 square, again we have the minus into 4 into a we have which is the 5. So right here the 5, and c we have which is the 7. So we have this one 7. So the d is going to the 36 minus of, this is going to 4 into 35, and which is further it is going to the 30 into 170, and when you will subtract you will get the d and whatever is this. So as you get to know how to calculate the d, so just try some multiple question over this concept how to calculate the d, then I will move over the quadratic formula. So now as we get to know that the d which is equal to b square minus of 4ac, so for this let's suppose we have a quadratic equation which seems like this, and now what is going to be the a means the coefficient of x square, we have nothing, that means the 1 we have, and b means the coefficient of x which we have the 4, and c means the constant term which we have the 2. Now we have to calculate the d which is the b square minus of 4ac. So as we know that b equals to the 4, so a square of 4 minus of 4 into a we have which is the 1, and c we have which is the 2. So from here you will get the a square of 4 which is equal to 16 minus of 8, that means d is going to be the 8. So now you get to understand how to calculate the d. Now solve a question using a quadratic formula and get to your answer. So if I will ask you what is going to be the root of this quadratic equation, we have the two root, one is the alpha and one is the beta. And if I will ask you what are those alpha and beta or the values of x which will satisfy this equation, so you will not able to solve this question using the middle term splitting because it is going to very complex. But using the quadratic formula you can solve any question. So now we calculate the d, just use this formula you will get the two roots. So according to the quadratic formula we have given that x is equal to minus of b plus minus d equals to 2a. So as we have that x is equal to minus of b, that means first we have to write minus and then value of b. So value of b we have the 4, so write here the 4 and it is plus minus and root, then value of d, the d we have which is equal to the 8, so write here the 8, and again we have the 2 into a, so a we have which is equal to 1 in this, so 2 into 1 will remains the 2. So x we get which is the minus of 4 plus minus root of d into 2, because 2 into 1 remains the 2. And as you know that here we have the plus minus sign, that means one answer is going to in plus and one is in the minus. At the place of d you are going to write the 8. So x is equal to minus of 4. Let's suppose once time consider the plus sign. So you will get root of 8 upon me 2, and let's consider one time the minus of 4 into minus of 8 is equal to 2. So these are the two roots which is going to satisfy this equation, and this is the quadratic formula we have to use. Let's try a different question over the same concept and using the same formula, and which is going to be the difficult one also. So let's suppose a equation like this, x of square minus of like the 2x square plus of root 3 equals to the 0. So if I will ask you to calculate the value of x for which it is going to be the 0, this side is going to be the 0, LHS side. So how will you calculate? Just you have to write ABC, A which we have the 1 and B which we have the 2 and C which we have the root of 3, and calculate the D which is the B square minus of 4AC. So D which is equal to B square, that means B square means a square of 2 which is equal to the 4 minus of 4 into A we have the 1 and C we have the root of 3. So D is going to 4 minus of which is 4 minus of 4 root 3. So now we have like this, and when we take the 4 common, so we will get here the 1 minus of root 3 which is equal to the D. Now you get the D and you have to find the value of x. So we know the formula of x which is minus of b plus minus root of d by 2 of a. So x we have which is the minus of b, b we have which is the 2 and we have the minus sign, so 2 minus of 2a plus minus root of, at the place of d you could write the 4 minus 1 minus root 3 like this, and we have 2 into, at the place of a we have the 1, So when you multiply 2 into 1, it will remain the 2. So it is going to be the minus of 2 plus, let's suppose once time consider the plus. So you will get like this, 4 into 1 minus of root 3 equals to 2, one answer. And the second answer is going to minus of 1 minus of 4, 1 minus root of 3 by the 2. And like this you will get the 2x value of x for which it will satisfy. And you have to use this formula because this formula can be used anywhere in the mathematics to get it to your answer. And thank you for today.